As the war between Israel, America, and Iran enters its fifth week, the blast radius is expanding far beyond the Middle East. We are watching a localized conflict rapidly escalate into a global shockwave. The immediate catalyst for this new level of tension is arriving right now. The Pentagon has released images of thousands of American troops deploying directly into the region. The presence of heavy infantry creates a severe tactical ambiguity. Are these forces simply a defensive deterrence, or are they the prelude to a highly anticipated ground invasion? Specifically, around 3,500 U.S. Marines and soldiers are currently positioned in the Persian Gulf, awaiting their final orders. Iran is openly threatening to rain fire on those American troops, and they have the capacity to do it. They have already hit air defense radars and destroyed a highly valuable U.S. AWACS spy plane in a strike on a Saudi airbase. Look at this map. The Persian Gulf is a highly constrained theater. You have opposing forces pressed tightly together. Any operation that puts U.S. boots on the ground here comes with extreme vulnerabilities. Concentrating heavy military assets in such a volatile, tight space guarantees that any miscalculation will trigger a combustible, multi-front war. To understand the velocity of this escalation, we have to look at Israel's regional strategy. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has explicitly stated his objective is to change the face of the Middle East. The military execution of that strategy is happening right now in southern Lebanon. The Israeli Defense Forces are expanding what they call a security zone, actively targeting the armed group Hezbollah. This push has an immediate human cost. More than 1,000 civilians have been killed, and over 1 million people have been forced to abandon their homes. While securing the northern border fulfills a tactical goal for Israel, pushing deep into Lebanon acts as a massive accelerant. It actively raises the risk of drawing global superpowers into an open, prolonged exchange. But the conflict is also moving to the sea. The Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen are providing the critical link between the physical battlefield and the global economy. This is a satellite view of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait connecting the Red Sea. It translates to the Gates of Tears, and it is one of the most vital shipping pinch points on the planet. By firing missiles at vessels navigating this narrow gap, the Houthis are directly threatening major routes for Saudi oil and forcing global shipping companies to divert their fleets around entire continents. 90% of all global trade is ocean-bound. Shutting down a single maritime choke point instantly weaponizes that trade, turning a regional dispute into an international crisis. This chart visualizes the immediate math of those disrupted shipping lanes. We see intense spikes in energy markets, with petrol jumping 15% and diesel climbing 26%. Those fuel costs immediately bleed into agriculture. The price of fertilizer has spiked by $500 per ton. We can see the physical consequences right now in Africa. Drivers are currently queuing at empty petrol stations, facing severe fuel shortages in Ethiopia, Kenya, and South Africa. The chain reaction extends into Asia and the Middle East. The Philippines has instituted a 4-day work week. Sri Lanka is rationing fuel. In Egypt, the government has ordered shops and cafes to close early every night just to preserve energy. The invisible shockwave of the war has breached the borders of non-combatant nations. Physical distance offers absolutely no protection from the economic blast radius. The economic fallout of the shipping crisis is landing in the rural United States, particularly in the agricultural heartland that forms a core part of the American conservative base. In Alabama, farmers like Tim Pierce are seeing the damage firsthand. A sudden freeze killed half his peach crop, while diesel and fertilizer prices rose 50% since the war began. Despite rising costs, Pierce and other supporters in Tuscaloosa maintain their backing for the war, arguing that the long-term reward of regional stability justifies the immediate expense. To these voters, the financial burden is secondary to a perceived existential threat. They believe that if Iran is allowed to develop a nuclear missile, the eventual cost, both in dollars and lives, will be far higher than what they are paying at the pump today. This creates a direct test of endurance. While this base currently accepts the trade-off between local inflation and geopolitical action, historical patterns suggest as grocery and fuel prices climb, that loyalty faces a hard breaking point. Look at the state of the board. U.S. Marines entrenched in the Gulf, critical oil routes under fire, and the cost of living climbing. Politicians in Washington seem to believe the Iranian regime is weakened and will agree to a swift, negotiated surrender. Iran's actions, striking radars and destroying spy planes, prove they intend to sustain a long fight. With military operations expanding deep into Lebanon and the Red Sea severely compromised, the traditional diplomatic off-ramps have vanished. This is a war of economic attrition. The durability of the global consumer is now being tested with the same intensity as the precision of the missiles or the strength of the borders.